Is that working now? Thank you. Yeah, I just want to clarify that the university mentioned was Ateneo de Manila University of the Jesuits in Manila. Yes, well, between the first session and the second session, we were able to conduct a global consultation with parish priests because the contribution or the participation of the parish priests was sort of missed. And I think it was requested by the Holy Father himself that the parish priest be allowed to participate a little bit more. And so a consultation was done here in Rome, and I was a participant there, one of the 5 resource persons. And when we returned to the Philippines, part of our preparation for the continental associations, our continental federation in Asia is called Federation of Asian Bishops' Conferences, and I'm the incoming vice president of this federation. And we organized also a continental consultation. But before that, we asked all the bishops' conferences to be able to give their feedback or reaction to the Synod synthesis report that was the result of the first session. And part of that was also a consultation, national consultation with the parish priests, which was spearheaded by the parish priests who participated here in Rome, because Pope Francis challenged the parish priests to become apostles of synodality. So that's basically what happened between the first session and the second session. And we're happy when the Instrumentum Laboris came out that many of the points that emerged from our bishops' conferences, were integrated into the Instrumentum Laboris. Paolo Rufino was mentioning about the first module and how we focused on 7 themes. And yesterday there was a funny situation because I noticed it only on the question number 7. When the theme number 7 was being discussed, and the president said the floor is now open for interventions, in just a few minutes the intervention, the list was full already. I was a bit frustrated, honestly, because I was still preparing my intervention, and it was full already. It was the favorite topic, and what was that? It was the question, how can we develop the foundations of synodality so as to underline the indispensable nature of the recognition and respect owed to people who find themselves living in conditions of particular poverty and suffering? Well, apparently this theme was particularly attractive to the delegates from the global South, Asia, Africa, and Latin America. I was looking at the list of people who had signed up for interventions. They were mostly Asians, Africans, and Latin Americans. And well, since I wasn't able to give my own intervention, I just submitted it by email. Let me just sum up what I would have wanted to say there, because last year, most of the questions that were posed to me had to do with the migration of many Filipinos. And today I'd like to clarify that one of the preliminary stages of foreign migration for Filipinos is actually local migration from the countrysides to the city centers. And the influx of people from the provinces to the metropolitan centers is presently changing the demographics in many of our dioceses in the Philippines. Like the population of one diocese, very close to Manila, increased from 1.5 million people to 4 million in just about 10 years. And I am referring to the diocese of Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle when he was bishop of the Diocese of Imus. And then after that, he was assigned to Manila and then assigned to Rome, to our great loss, but to the gain of the Universal Church. Well, the phenomenon of local migration is becoming a big challenge to our traditional parishes, which normally cater only to the original residents living close to the city center. Some of the residents in the city would even regard the influx of the settlers from the provinces as a kind of threat. It's quite similar to the kind of threat that, countries are feeling about the influx of foreign migrants. But the same thing is happening with local people in the cities feeling threatened by the influx of migrants from the countrysides. Like they think that the slum communities that are created by the local migration are becoming a breeding place for criminality and drug abuse. So when Pope Francis visited us in 2015, he gave us a challenge. He said, go out to the peripheries, and we took that challenge very seriously. Because we could not get the local migrants to enter our parishes, they are sort of alienated from the traditional parishes, we decided to go out to them. That paved the way for the creation, for example, of 20 mission stations in my own diocese. Mission stations that are church's presence among the poorest of the poor. If the poor don't come to church, the church must go to the poor. That was our decision. And this decision is now pleasantly transforming our parishes from maintenance to mission, because it is giving our traditional parish ministries and organizations the motive to go out to the peripheries. Even that word periphery, was not familiar to Filipino English, and it became part of our vocabulary. And it has been a wonderful pastoral experience that has largely been profoundly affirmed in the past 3 years by this synod on synodality for us.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Sebastian Gomes from America Magazine. To any of the delegates, there's clearly the idea that this final report that you come out with will have some very practical, concrete suggestions and proposals. It's sort of always easy to say that. Have you seen enough, have you experienced enough in the Synod to be confident that you will arrive at very practical suggestions and concrete proposals that everybody will agree on and that we will be implementing when we walk out of here? And if so, can you give us some idea of anything around the topics, the themes of those practical, concrete measures? Thank you.
Yeah.
Monsieur David, yes, go ahead.
Yes. I think the mere fact that 10 of the hot topics have been sort of put aside for a while and assigned to study groups, so that we could focus our attention really on the topic, which is synodality, which is what we call a more practical ecclesiology, is precisely giving us the opportunity to be a bit more practical in our approach, focusing on things like decision-making and decision-taking in the church, consultation, the need for consultation, the creation of the proper councils, so that the voices that are not usually heard in the church, are able to surface. Things like these are very, very practical, and I think more of these. I look forward to more of these in the coming modules.
Thanks. Sì, Catherine, please, and then Sheila, forse anche lei vorrebbe aggiungere qualcosa.
No, I just wanted to add that, as the Bishop has already said, that, we have a very, for lack of a better word, we are very comfortable in our conversations or deliberations, but at the same time, it's still very early for us to think of the final document. However, this is a phase where we are looking at what is there, what should be improved, what is lacking. That's where we are presently. But I personally believe it's still too early to say much about the final document, but we can certainly say that so far so good. We are able to share lots of our ideas, and we are able to highlight what is missing and what is important. Like we said in our presentation earlier today, that looking at the local churches, for example, is one of the points that's missing. Looking at the diocesan synods, for example, another point that's missing in these early stages of the document. So there's quite a lot to still look at before we can answer to that question. Thank you.
I'd like to pick up on the point about a diocesan synod, which is not mentioned in the working document. For me, that's very concerning and perplexing, but perhaps not, because the majority of dioceses in the world have not experienced a local synod, a diocesan synod, in the 60 years since the Second Vatican Council. We need to ask why. We need to understand why. We need to rethink how essential this is as a structure for the people of God in each place to gather together with their pastors and reflect on the challenges that they need to face together. So I think we'll have a lot of conversations about what the purpose and the form of the synod, the frequency of its implementation or gathering. These are things that we're going to be speaking about going forward in the coming weeks.
L'Église, chez nous, en Haïti, joue un rôle extrêmement important.
The church in Haiti has a very important role in society. So, the values promoted in the Synod are values that can help strengthen the church and the mission. And we can use these values to build a democratic society, because the fact that we get together, we get together to reflect, to think, is a very important method that can help Haiti and the Church of Haiti to move forward. Very good. Monsignor, please. I think that the greatest and most important decision to be made is that the Church, through this synod, becomes a messenger, or living together while listening to the other, respecting the other, having a dialogue with the other, and then free ourselves of our fear of the other, free ourselves of this fear that inhabits us. And this would be a first step forward as a recommendation, great recommendation that could cut out of the synod for humanity, to humanity. Thank you. Thank you very much. We are